What's up, peeps? Welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions with Frank. And today we have the legendary copy warrior in the house. Dale Dupree is the leader of the Sales Rebellion, a nationally recognized speaker, host of the extremely popular podcast Selling Local, and he is wielding his sword to fight against poor cold call efforts, bad sales experiences, depleted pipelines, to protecting integrity and values at the root of his relationships with clients and prospects. His purpose is to give other sales professionals confidence to lead the charge for change in their respective industries. Dale, thanks for being on, man. It's been great to get to know you. I know we got to see each other at LinkedIn Global for a brief meeting, but always interacting here on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So great to have you on, man.
Dude, Frank, thanks for having me on, bro. It's an honor to be here with you today, man.
Awesome. So before we get into the whole nitty gritty of the 5 questions with Frank, I love to give our audience a little glimpse into a day in the life of Dale, you know, who you are and what makes you tick.
Yeah, man. The day in the life of Dale is pretty overwhelming, to be quite frank with you, and no pun intended, Frank, but it's interesting. It's very busy. Everything is driven by substance, by impact, by the value that I bring forth as a human on this earth, not necessarily a sales trainer. I'm looking to do better in this world on all fronts, whether it's just simple interactions with people in an elevator or, you know, from the perspective of helping sales professionals get better at honing their skills of communication or just doing better inside of their vertical. But there's a lot of things that happen throughout a day in the life of Dale, right, from that perspective. But what drives me more than anything, bro, is my family, my faith, and my friends on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks for that. So how did you get started? I know, you know, at your core, you're a sales trainer, but let us know how did, back to 1985 when Dale hit the scene, how did you get to where you are today?
Word, yeah. So 1984 is actually when my story starts, 1 year before I was born. And it starts with my father, who founded his copier firm in that year. And so people always told me when I was growing up that toner runs in my blood. And it was one of my favorite things because it ties me back into my legacy a lot better, in my opinion, as well, too. Because my father was a copier salesman. That's what he did for a living. When he was my age, up until the time that he was about 35 or so, when he started his own business. I think it was actually closer to 33. Sorry, Dad. But when he got into his own business, he was not just a salesperson. He was the CEO of the company. He was running the payroll. He was out fixing copy machines sometimes too. So my foundation isn't just based on, you know, my father's very, very, very talented skills in sales. They were based on his role as a leader. They were based on his role as a servant leader more than anything else. You know, and so growing up was interesting. We grew up in a small business. We had that hometown feel. You knew everybody's name in the company. Even when there was 20 employees, you knew everybody's name. You knew what was going on. You knew the customers, though, too. That was a big piece of the puzzle for me, is that I knew these people. Like, I met them when I was a kid. And the best part was when I was 18, you know, and I was getting ready to go tour with my band. And I just, you know, spent some days out working with Dad to make a couple of extra bucks. I would go and see those same people. And think about that for a minute, bro. Like 15 odd years later, you know, from like the time that I first started going to the company, these people are seeing me again, you know, and like just the relationship there that my father had with these folks and how they felt invested in his life just as much as he was in theirs. And so I played music on Pluto Records. Shout out to Brian Coble if you're listening, which got sold to Warner Brothers. They sold us to Warner Brothers. They sold us out, and we ended up staying on the road for several more years. Around the time I was 21, 22, I started to take a back seat and have other people go on tour for me. Came back to help my dad run his business because he got sick. Had a staph infection. Family is the most important thing to me, bro. And so when I saw the opportunity, I also realized that there were things in my life that I needed to change when it came to my focus, when it came to my path, when it came to my intentions. And so I kind of hit the brakes on the band, which was a good thing because, long story short, lots of other things happened inside of that walk, which I'd love to get into sometime. And if anybody's listening right now and you want to hear the band story, hit me up. But that led me into my full-time sales path. And from there, for 13 years, I conquered the copier industry. In the beginning, I sucked, just like most people. But I found my rhythm. I found my flow. I found my calling. And from there, it was relationships that drove it. It was my community. It was the culture that we were building. It wasn't just the money and the success that came with that. It was the bigger picture. And fast forward to where I am today. March 1st of 2019, I founded the Sales Rebellion. January 4th of 2019, I resigned from my position as a general manager for a big Xerox firm that was running in the Central Florida region, and decided, hell, I'm going to put it all on the line. I'm going to risk everything. And I'm going to go and help the sales world.
Dude, that is unbelievable, dude. So awesome. And that is the journey of saying, hey man, I'm going to put it on the line and start your own thing and be that entrepreneur, man. That is so cool. And I know your father is super proud, man. And I know, you stressing how important family is to you. Awesome share. So thinking about the road to where you got to where you are today and all the ups and downs and everything and the decisions that you've struggled with, knowing, hey, I'm working here, doing my thing, being very successful, and then kind of deciding to flip that and say, I'm going to go on and do my own thing and kind of, create my own path. What advice would you give to someone who's either, thinking about getting into this industry or kicking it around?
Yeah. So I would tell people that, and honestly, I would, like most people that I sit with that are just thinking about doing their own thing in general, I kind of give them the same advice, bro. Whether it's sales training, whether it's you're trying to go and start your own brokerage firm, whatever it is, right? I give them the same advice that nobody cares as much as you. Never forget that. But I also tell them to flip the script on that and to say that nobody cares as much as you except for me, and to tell people that in your actions on a daily basis, to show it in the way that you strive toward that greatness that you're trying to achieve, the mountaintop in which you're climbing. The concept here is that a lot of people have this idea that they want to do something for themselves at one point, or to become something bigger than they've been shackled to, whether with golden handcuffs or just in general, right? And really it's about the risk. Stop sitting around and procrastinating, get off your butt and do it. And it will reward you, even if it's tough in the first year, the first couple years, the first 10 years. My dad did it for 29 years, and there was not a day that he didn't sacrifice something. But he was grateful every day, and he lived the best life that he possibly could. Sweet.
You're spot on, man. It doesn't happen overnight, and there's going to be that roller coaster ride, no doubt. So what do you think, looking at where you are now and the time that you've spent, kind of leading the sales rebellion, what is the greatest thing about the industry, and what do you truly love? What are you truly passionate about?
Dude, what I love is I love when reps come to me and they say, I need help. And then we start to dive into the deeper purpose and meaning behind sales. But we also dive into that statement, I need help, much deeper than where they started. Because they say something like, I need help, I'm not closing enough deals, or I am closing enough deals, but I'm trying to get to that next level. What I love, dude, is when we get to dive into that and to figure out, what does that mean for you? What exactly do you want as the next level in the first place? Is it more income? Is it more popularity? Is it like local fame? A lot of people have different opinions on these things that are built up in their own mind that they don't realize are sometimes false narratives, and other times are just not achievable in the way that they're trying to begin with. And so we sit down and teach reps how to change the game, how to take the narrative in which they're on and to write it differently. And the big piece of that I love the most, dude, that brings me the most fulfillment in my walk is when people come to me and say, dude, you've changed the way that I look at my walk. Some people tell me that I've changed their life, which is an absolute honor, and it hits me in the feels just to say it, bro. But really what we're looking to do is make people better. It's cool that people are selling more and people are making more money, right? I love to see that. I love to see your quality of life go up. But what I love foremost out of any of those statements, any of those things that we accomplish, is helping people to become better individuals inside of their community to serve others for a greater purpose.
You can hear that in your voice, dude. Awesome. So on the flip side of that, if you could look and really had the ability to make a change, what is one thing that you would change if you could?
If there was one thing that I could change, it would be, for me right now, it would be the option of scaling. It's not easy to scale. It's very difficult. A lot of people talk about the hacks that you can use to do that. And yeah, there's shortcuts, but I'm not a shortcut guy by any means. And so, but being able to kind of understand what scaling looked like at the beginning when I first got started, instead of it kind of taking 9 months for me to develop it, that would be what I would change.
Awesome. Great. And now, one of the best things that I like about the show, and of course, I can't wait to hear your perspective, is where is this industry going? Especially looking at what you do and kind of, knowing at where you compete and where you thrive. What big changes do you predict in the next, say 5-10 years?
Yeah, so I see AI taking over sales, right? And I'll tell you, this is why I see it happening, because sales professionals have disconnected. They're worthless to the buyer these days. The buyer uses them to maybe get something that they need, but in most cases, they're the problem with sales is the salesperson. That's what, at least how most buyers perceive it. When you think of a salesperson and you're listening to this right now and you're not in the sales industry, tell me honestly that you didn't have a negative thought. And the honest truth is that you did. Like, oh man, I can't stand salespeople. That's 90% of the world, right? So I see AI taking over sales. But what I am trying to do now, before that happens in 5 or 10 years, is to develop the skill set necessary that the world needs when it comes to individuality, bringing charismatic, salespeople back to the game, bringing the heart of the matter back to sales as well too, which is servant leadership. Getting to this place where people cannot deny doing business with another human being, instead of sitting back and saying, why the hell am I continuing to talk to this person? I'd rather just dial 1-800 numbers and answer online service. I see that happening, dude. I see it happening right now, and I see the entire earth shifting in that direction, right? But what I'm trying to do is stop it.
Awesome. Well, y'all heard it first, right from Dale's mouth. So pay attention, because change is not, like he said, it's not coming. It is here. So awesome. Really appreciate the insight here. I know that folks will want to find you, especially those sales peeps out there. So where do we find Dale? Whether it's website, social, give us ways to find you.
Word. Yeah. So if you're just finding me on the internet, the good old Google, salesrebellion.com, you can hit me up on any of the social platforms, Instagram, Facebook. You can even find me on Snapchat, y'all. I'm a millennial, believe it or not. But where I post content daily is LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/copier warrior. You can also find my business page, Sales Rebellion, under my work history there. It's way too complicated to do the URL links for those. But if you want to see a closer and deeper look inside, head to LinkedIn, because that's where I post content daily, and I don't hold back. I post anything and everything that I'm feeling, and I post once a day.
And I can attest to that. He puts out some fire content. So awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks so much for being on. Thank you so much for sharing this. Anyone who is listening in and you have any questions, please let us know. We would love to have Dale answer your questions. So thanks for your attention. Dale, thanks for being on, man. Truly appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Frank. Thanks for having me, dude.